So I feel like I keep forgetting to give you guys a little follow-up after the Dembele incident. And yes, I know, it was grass, and I'm sorry, I can't really go back and unburn the grass, but I definitely learned my lesson from a lot of people who commented, hey, don't do that. So, I've learned. But I did tell you guys I was gonna buy basically the same French jersey, just a different name on the back. If you watched the initial video, you definitely know who's on the back of it, but if you didn't, let me go show you. Ain't she just absolutely beautiful? That's right, folks. We have gotten ourselves a brand new, well, not really brand new, this is definitely fake, because I was definitely not going to buy another jersey for $130. It's a more deserving player on the back, too. It's just beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Not only that, it also has 2 stars on it now. 2 stars, because the initial Dembele shirt I bought right around before the World Cup. So, you know, that's pretty cool. But anyways, speaking of French football, today's topic is French football. Last weekend, before a match between Saint-Etienne and Angers, there was a bit of a protest from the Saint-Etienne home supporters. But why exactly are they protesting? Well, for everyone who doesn't watch Ligue, which is pretty much 95% of you, supporters are currently angry at current manager Claude Puel. And that name might sound a bit familiar to you. He used to manage Southampton and Leicester City, even bringing Southampton to a League Cup final in 2017. But for the most part, both clubs kind of look back on the Claude Puel days as very, very uninspiring football. But despite this, Puel has quite the pedigree in France. He won Ligue in 2000 with Monaco, led Lyon to the Champions League semi-finals in 2010, and even turned Nice into a top 4 side. So when Puel agreed to manage Saint-Etienne back in 2019, supporters were pretty excited. In his first season, Le Vert finished 17th. But although not the greatest results in the league, in the cup it was a bit of a different story. Puel led the club to the final of the Coupe de France, the first time they had reached the final of that tournament since 1982. Into the 2021 season, things got a little bit better for Saint-Etienne in the League too. They finished the league season with 8 wins in 15 matches, which placed them 11th. So going into this current season, Saint-Etienne supporters had a bit of optimism. Obviously, those things have definitely changed. It's not like a slight dip in form or anything like that. They are literally rock bottom in Ligue right now. 11 matches played, they have gone winless. And to add on to that depressing campaign, they lost 5-1 to Strasbourg. So obviously now supporters are demanding the sacking of Claude Puel. And if you know anything about the French, they definitely know how to protest. And here's the thing, Saint-Etienne shouldn't be 20th. They aren't that bad in quality. Claude Puel has enough resources to definitely perform much better. But there's a little bit more that contributes to why Saint-Etienne are this far down right now. For the last couple years, Saint-Etienne has put most of their faith into the young players, as a result of them being cash-strapped. I mean, right now, their current captain is 23-year-old Madi Camara. But how exactly did Saint-Etienne find themselves in this position? Well, there's 2 things, and they kind of build upon each other. Firstly, the COVID-19 pandemic. Impacts of revenue across Europe saw a loss of 3.7 billion. For the 2020-21 season, French clubs missed out on 192 million due to matches being played behind closed doors. But if you thought COVID-19 was bad, oh boy, do I have something for you. Meet our second reason, Chinese-backed MediaPro. For the 2021 season, MediaPro were granted TV rights. They provided a bid of a whopping 780 million euros a year for 80% of the broadcasting rights. Comparing that to the previous deal by Canal+, that was a 60% increase. Liga hoped they could close the revenue gap to the other 4 leagues in Europe, and MediaPro's bid was exactly what they needed. And you know, things were on the up. MediaPro made their first payment of 130 million, and then just stopped paying.
We need you to pay for the month of October.
No, I don't think I will.
You what?
The company also was apparently cash-strapped and near bankruptcy as well.
He can't seem to do anything, right?
The company blamed COVID-19 and used emergency laws in order to beg for a price cut. In the end, the company agreed that they did breach contract, so they ended up having to pay the French League a fine of 100 million. But that fine didn't do much because at the end of the Liga season, alongside losing 192 million from just matchday revenue, French clubs finished the season without 400 million in TV revenue. So now that we know that, let's just backtrack a little bit to the point where the French clubs had actually been notified that MediaPro was not going to be paying Liga. You know what this did? This caused absolute chaos amongst all French clubs, except for PSG, obviously. Every single one of these clubs were now cash-strapped, and they were threatened with the idea of having to sell even more players than they already were. Because if you know anything about the French leagues, they export quite a bit. So going back to Saint-Etienne, it was learned as early as summer 2020 by Saint-Etienne that MediaPro's October deadline hadn't been paid, thus triggering the immediate sale of Wesley Fofana for 35 million to Leicester City. It was said that without the sale of Fofana, Saint-Etienne could have just literally disappeared. Had it been just the COVID-19 impact, Liga clubs probably would have recovered. But because MediaPro had to contribute to the absolute chaos, things just became a lot more uncertain. And they still are. It is said that more than half of Liga clubs are currently for sale, one of them eventually being Saint-Etienne. In April of this year, the owners of Saint-Etienne announced the club was officially for sale and were seeking a buyer. The most notable offer was back in September when the Cambodian prince offered 100 million to buy them. I haven't seen much since, you know, things can obviously change, but obviously the owners are trying to sell the club as fast as they can. But the craziest thing about this whole situation in terms of Saint-Etienne literally being at rock bottom right now is that they're not just any ordinary club. They're a very decorated French side. They actually used to be the most successful club in France. From 1956 to 1981, they had 10 league titles. Add on top of that, during that era, 6 Coupe de France titles. And had it not been for the infamous square post, Saint-Etienne could have been champions of Europe in 1976. Saint-Etienne did slip down after their very successful period, but then they climbed back up and developed a lot of talent, including Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Dimitri Payet, Blaise Matuidi, Kurt Zuma, the list goes on. But that is pretty much all I wanted to say about the whole Saint-Etienne situation. To be fair, most of the video was talking more about Liga clubs, but it's because basically all of their shortcomings have been because of the same incident. It's just that right now, Saint-Etienne is the one that's suffering the most in 20th. But what do you guys think about this situation, and what do you think about MediaPro? Actually, you don't need to think about them, because I think they've dissolved. But a special thanks to our patrons, Victor, Lewis, Emmett Shea, Dominic Griffin, Joseph Bonfante, and Tomicus. If you want to join the Patreon, there's a link down in the description, and also there'll be one in the annotations above. You can follow my Twitter, I'm close to 600. You can follow my Instagram, where I'm close to 1,000. You can follow my TikTok, where we're trying to get to 3,000. And you know, if you want to follow my Twitch for f***s and giggles, why not? But until then, I'll see you guys.